Christmas is a time for traditions. You know, the kids have the elf on the shelf. We hang stockings every year, and we even watch marathon Christmas movies. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Miracle on 34th Street, and there's one movie that runs 24 hours a day that we just can't stand in our family. The You'll Shoot Your Eye Out Kid movie. A lot of households put up a Christmas tree every year. How many of us here put up a tree? About everybody. Now here's the real question. About how many of those are real Christmas trees? You go out and cut down a tree? No one? Well, you know, in the U.S., 77% of Americans say that they put up a Christmas tree every year. 80% of them say it's artificial. So you're not alone. Just about everybody does. Now, my favorite tradition over the years has been setting out a nativity scene. And so that's what we're going to do this morning. We're going to set up a nativity scene here, and we're going to take a closer look at a few of these characters. So up first, we have the baby Jesus. And we're going to build everything around him this morning. But we have the baby. And let's stop for a second. This is the Son of God. And where is he sleeping? In a trough that is meant to feed animals. That's not quite what you expect to see for the Son of God. And it's hard to think of anything that's more surprising than for God to come to earth and spend his first night in a trough that we use to feed animals. So if we have a trough, we've got to have some animals, right? That's not surprising. And then next we're going to look at, that's not Mary. That's Mary. And Joseph. Now, we don't know a whole lot about them. And that's part of what makes them surprising. They are not prominent people of their time. They have no power of authority. Do they have anything to offer Jesus? Mary is just a simple teenage girl. And Joseph, he's a carpenter. What do we really have? What do they really have for Jesus? And we know that we read earlier from Luke that they're traveling to Joseph's hometown of Bethlehem because of that census. And so everybody had to travel back. Mary is days away from giving birth, and they can't find a place to stay. We assume it's busy. I mean, think about it. They're going into Joseph's hometown. Wouldn't you think that they may have some friends they could stay with or some family? But no, there's no room. They have to stay in a barn. And couldn't somebody have said, oh, here, you stay in my room, I'll stay in the barn? But that's not what happens. And it's not just the fact that there's no room. Think about the scandal. You do the math. Mary is heavily pregnant. Mary and Joseph are not married. What would the neighbors think? Maybe it's better if they do just stay in the barn. Next up, we have the shepherds. Luke told us that the angels came to the shepherds with good news of great joy that is for all people. The shepherds are the first people to hear about the great news that Jesus, the Messiah, is born. The great news that is for all people. And they're not exactly who you would expect to be the first to be told of the birth. I mean, shepherds are out in the field all day and night, They're smelly, they're stinky, they're unclean. I mean, they couldn't even be a part of any of societal's daily jobs, like being on a jury or something like that. They're the last people that you would think to invite to the first Christmas, to the birth of Jesus, at least by society standards. Now, this next group of people don't really show up in the nativity story that we read today. But we're going to talk about them anyway. Those are the wise men. And I'm missing a character. Dad? The wise men are about 800 miles away. They're not a part of God's chosen people that we read about in the Old Testament. And they're not a part of the nation of Israel. This news wouldn't really matter to them. But they studied the prophecies of Daniel and Isaiah, and they followed that star as it rose to be able to come and worship. They traveled that distance. So if you look at this collection of people, you have the unwed couple, the dirty, stinky people, the non-chosen people of God. News this good is not just for the well-educated. It's not just for the favored. It's for everyone. Everyone gets an invitation and that sense of belonging. Jesus came for all of us, whether we were country raised or city raised, if we grew up Catholic or grew up Baptist, if we're married or single, if we're single and wish we were married, or married but wish we were single. He came for those who are struggling and for those who are feeling discouraged. Christmas is for everyone. The Bible makes it clear that although we're all very different, we have one thing in common: that we all need a Savior. We've sinned and fallen short of God's standard. But we don't have to live in guilt, shame, fear of what's to come after death. God has given us the free gift of salvation through Jesus. We just have to put faith in Him and trust Him. We have forgiveness of sins and the gift of eternal life. In 2 Corinthians 5, verse 14, it says, "Our firm decision is to work from this focused center. One man died for everyone." That puts everyone in the same boat. He included everyone in this death so that everyone could also be included in His life, a resurrection life, a far better life than people ever lived on their own. So when you see this nativity scene of the first Christmas, it's a reminder that we're all included, that we're invited, because this news is for everyone. Now, as I said earlier, I'm just missing a character. There's a character that doesn't usually get included in nativity scenes, but Matthew and Luke neither mention the character. So we have to jump from our earthly perspectives in those two books to a heavenly perspective. And to do that, we have to turn to Revelation 12. So Revelation 12 says, "Then I witnessed in heaven an event of great significance. I saw a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon beneath her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. She was pregnant, and she cried out because of her labor pains and the agony of giving birth. Then I witnessed in heaven another significant event. I saw a large red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns, with 7 crowns on his heads. His tail swept away 1/3 of the stars in the sky, and he threw them to the earth. He stood in front of the woman as she was about to give birth, ready to devour her baby as soon as it was born." So I'm going to add our dragon there. In those four verses, we're introduced to a woman who's about to give birth, a baby who is born to give hope to the world, and the red dragon. It's, as I said, he's not traditionally a part of the nativity scene, but he's a very real part of the story. There's a lot of imagery and symbolism that goes on in the book of Revelation. And if you read further, I'm not going to read all of it to you guys for some sensitive ears we may have out in the audience. But the timeline does jump around a lot. And that's because the eternal round of time doesn't flow linearly like ours does. So let me break it down. The pregnant woman is Mary. The baby, of course, is Jesus. And the dragon is Satan. That dragon is desperate to keep the baby from being born. He goes through great lengths to prevent the birth, to stop his birth, and to destroy him afterwards. Why is he so desperate? The real simple truth of the matter is that baby is a dragon slayer. The baby has come to bring light to the darkness. He has come to defeat death, and Satan is desperate to stop that from happening. It kind of almost ruins the Christmas story, doesn't it? But when you think about it, Jesus says in John 10:10, the thief only comes to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. The red dragon wants to cause death and destruction. And the Bible warns us about him. He's the enemy. He's the deceiver. He's a liar. And he's a distractor. He promises things that he can't deliver and convinces us to be selfish, using distractions to keep us from what we know is right, from what really matters. Last week, Dad talked about us focusing on the sun, S-O-N. Just like a sunflower focuses on the sun, S-U-N. But the enemy is using things like our phones, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. He's using all of these things to keep our eyes off of the sun. He's distracting us from what really matters. But good news of great joy for all people. A dragon slayer is born. He has come to rescue us and to give us a full new life. Now, what does a full new life look like? Well, imagine it's something like Adam. And I don't know Adam. I've never met him, but this is a story that I was told recently. So I'm going to give you kind of the Cliff Notes version. So Adam is at a gathering, and he is introducing himself, giving a testimony of sorts. And he admits that he has spent some time in jail. He doesn't elaborate on the circumstances, but he admits that he went into prison illiterate, which he couldn't read or write. While he was in there, another inmate offered to teach him. And the other inmate, being a Christian, used the Gospel of Mark to teach him to read. So during his time, he learned about the life of Jesus. And when he was released, not only could he read, but he had become a follower of Christ. He went back to his hometown, small church, got connected with them. Things were going okay for a while. And then people started talking like people do, and rumors started spreading through his church about his past. And one family, a very prominent family in the church, approached the pastor and said, either he goes or we go. And the pastor, isn't that why we're here? To help these people? To help those kinds of people? And by the way, you're not unlike Adam. We've all sinned, and we all need Jesus no more than the other. We're desperate for him. So the pastor tried to talk to the family, but they ended up leaving anyway. Things at that point got even messier for Adam. to the point where he was debating whether or not to go to church anymore. He didn't want to create any more problems for anybody else. So one Sunday evening, after the evening service, the pastor calls Adam down to the front. And Adam pretty much knows what's going to happen at this point. So he knows he's going to be asked to leave. So he walks down feeling all the guilt and the shame of his past. Some in the congregation knew what was going to happen, but knew this wasn't really the right time to do this, and wished the pastor wouldn't make it so awkward. So Adam got down to the front. The pastor explained to the congregation that Adam had recently been released from prison, and since he had been released, he had been having a hard time finding a job. So he tells Adam, I've called you down here today because I want to offer you a job. He pulls out a set of keys and he hands them to Adam. You're going to need these in order to open the church, close the church after everything, to clean during the week, just to maintain the church. You're going to need these keys. Adam tears up a little bit during his testimony, and he reveals that was the first time that he had ever owned keys to anything in his life. He started to experience God's love in that community, and it was transforming for him. So this gathering that Adam was speaking at, it wasn't a mission in a jail. It wasn't a counseling session. It was a pastor's conference. Because you see, after 6 years of taking care of that church, Adam became the pastor of that church. So this is what God does. This is the good news of great joy that is for all people. This is what it looks like for that dragon to be defeated. If we continue reading in Revelation, we see that the dragon ends up fighting a war with Michael and his angels, and he ends up getting defeated there as well. There's a lot going on in this chapter. I heavily suggest that you read it when you have time this week. But what matters is the dragon is defeated with the birth of that baby. He fails. He fails to destroy the woman. He fails to stop the birth. And he failed to defeat Michael and his angels. Jesus won. That is why we celebrate Christmas. We know the dragon has lost, but he's not a gracious loser. He is furious and hell-bent on bringing death and destruction to everyone and bring fear and division from Christ. And he will continue to do that until Jesus says enough is enough, and he comes back and makes everything new. In Revelation 12:17, I will read this verse. Then the dragon became furious with the woman and went off to make war on the rest of her offspring. Who is that? Shouldn't we warn them that the dragon's coming from them? But if we keep reading, we're going to find out. They are those who keep the commandments of God and hold to the testimony of Jesus. That's us. We are the descendants at this point. Now we're a part of the nativity scene. We've read about the battle. We know what happened with the dragon. So Christmas looks different when we look at it from heaven. What is clear? The red dragon is defeated. Jesus won. This changes things for us so that we can live with more intentionality and recognize that we're not on a playground. We're on a battlefield. We're on a battlefield of constant distractions by our screens, our responsibilities, our jobs, and the pursuit of our own happiness and pleasures. We need to stop and think about what really matters. We're not just here to celebrate the fact that Jesus came as a baby, but we're here to anticipate that he is coming again. Advent is not just the season of celebrating Jesus' birth, but a period of waiting for his soon return. We know this story. Knowing this story changes the hope that we have for today. It changes the peace that we live with. It changes the joy that can be ours. God so loved the world that he gave us his only begotten Son. Knowing that he will return shows the love of God for us. Jesus came, but Jesus is coming again. But he's going to come differently the second time. The first time he came, it was as a weakness. But when he comes again, it'll be with strength and power. Jesus first came as a baby in the manger. And when he comes again, he's going to come as the King of Kings. The first time he came, he was a servant. But when he returns, he'll be a sovereign ruler. First time he came, he was a lamb. When he comes again, he'll be the mighty lion. The first time he came, it was silently. The world barely noticed. But when he comes again, trumpets will fill the sky. The Bible says that one day every knee shall bow, every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord of Lords and King of Kings. So I'm going to invite you on our last song today to sing, celebrate the birth of Jesus, anticipate his soon return, and let's declare that he is King of Kings.